Okay, we're live. Hey everyone, I'm here with Mr. Ben and we're going to go through this profile and fancy introduction.
Yeah, and she really wants to do this, folks. I've not put the fluence on her. I've not hypnotized her into doing this. She really is interested in this stuff. So this is the contents of this profile. If Hailey will do the honors and click on the box, or maybe she has it selected to, you know, like the auto changer thingy. So yeah, we're gonna, as you can see, folks, you can all read. These are the aspects that we'll be going through. So, you know, this is a little taster for when we do the Model G hangout, which is in the translation process. I've been trying my darndest to like push it along the pipe. But, you know, trying to get translations out of these translators is like trying to get blood out of a stone. Right.
You're square, and I don't know why I'm still seeing myself. Okay, there we go.
Right.
There we go.
Right. Okay. So have you got it on auto changer or?
No, it's on your square. So
Okay.
why do you have? Okay, I see in the gamma quadrant you have I.L.I highlighted. Why do you have the other two other types? I can't read what you wrote next to it. Not something.
Oh, that was because those are the ones I printed out, and then I printed out.
Okay.
I printed out LII, so TINX, but it didn't print off properly, so I ripped it all up, and so I've not actually got that printed. I've just got those two printed out, SEE and I.L.I, because Jeff's best fit type is sensory, ethical extrovert, and yours is intuitive, logical introvert. Right.
Okay.
So, yes. Oh. Right. Okay. We can now do general description. I'll let you take in that first paragraph.
Okay, so I've noticed this in my dad and the other INTJs that I have known. Definitely, they have a good eye for noticing contradictions. Yes, skeptical about the prospects of hasty initiatives. Definitely. What is that? Can provide a characteristic for someone? Like, what is that trying to say? Is this just kind of stuff getting lost in translation?
Yeah, it might be the ability to say, oh, well, this is someone's central characteristic, and because of this, I can predict their actions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got it. This sounds kind of FE to me. Patiently leads a person along towards taking the necessary step, preparing him or her in advance.
Yeah, that's a sort of super nice version of the NITX. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, takes up only those tasks that ensure reliable returns. TE minus, yeah, negative city. Thrifty with money. You know, I think every that I know is definitely what's the positive word? Frugal.
Parsimonious. Yes, frugal's a good bit.
Yes.
Frugal's probably the best word, but yes, frugal. Prudence. Frugal. Yes, frugal.
Tries to control the process. You know how many people call me controlling, like not necessarily trying to control them, but anal retentive in the aspect that to know like every single step of what's going on. Like I have to know, you know. Reckless methods and unfounded enthusiasm are not acceptable for the I.L.I. I come to the conclusion, like it says, at home surrounds himself with familiar items.
Right. Was there something there about right. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I interrupted a little bit too early there. I think you were about to talk about the emotions, and I was wondering.
Well, I was asking. It says at home surrounds himself with familiar items. Why? Why would that be?
That's like a role function thing. Like the idea that SI is about homeostasis and comfort in socionics. And so the idea is that the overall, that the NITX, the INTJ, is a member of the Receptive-Adaptive Gulenko temperament, meaning that their top function is an introverted perceiving function. So they sort of doing the NI and the SI thing, and like NI sort of like has the veto over the SI. So NI is like they can be like out of their body, like on their future plans, and the SI is sort of like within, rooted in their body and their internal subjective sensory experience of that, and it's sort of like go between these two states. And when and the you talked about where your mind has just drifted off and you've sort of half gone out of your body, and it would be better to be sometimes more located, more centered.
Yeah, like when I'm driving.
Yes.
But growing hot-tempered, he can spoil the mood for himself and others. You know, I don't necessarily, it's pretty hard to piss me off, like really get me angry. Really hard. But when I am angry, yeah. But I mean, it's not so bad, I guess, because I will like go and try to be by myself, and I need to be alone. But it can definitely spoil the fun for everyone when I initially get angry. Poorly control his emotions. Oh, go ahead.
A theme through this is I would like. I think what would be good is like if you can say what your experience is, and then also because of these other NITX people that you've known in your life. So we can sort of like get a balanced view to like see if there are variances.
Well, I find that my dad, INTJ, he is very similar to myself, and how when I get angry, and it was very hard to get my dad really pissed off. But when we would get angry, like when someone just drove us to that point, we would have this like outburst. Like we would let them know we were angry, and then we would leave. Like we would have the outburst, spoil the fun, and then just be out of there. And we would need to go be by ourselves, and we would need to be left alone. His states range from melancholic depression to outbreaks of discontentment and frustration. Yeah. Uh-oh. I just lost your sound. Okay, there you are.
I was just randomly having a fiddle with my mic because I wanted to like see if the microphone cover was on properly. A little bit of OCD there.
It's okay.
Because I always want to make sure that the cover is like all the way down on the end. And right. So any like,
you know,
yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, like any of the INTJs, you know, like you don't have to name names, like certain things here about like controlling the emotions and stuff. If it's not necessarily yourself, but others. I mean, you mentioned your father there, but
you know what? The older I get, the more I feel that I have these, what's called here, outbreaks of discontentment. I feel like I'm a lot more, in a sense, yeah. Like I've noticed it more now that I can be really, really negative, and I have more of, I don't want to call it depression, but it feels like it sometimes. My dad, I mean, yeah, I guess I would notice it sometimes with him, but I mean, I guess it's kind of like me. Whenever we feel sad or anything like that, we're not going to go and try to tell anyone about it. We're just going to go and be by ourselves. So
can it sometimes be an external thing because you're just seeing things going in a negative way, and that affects you.
Like, what do you mean?
Well, just generally, like say if you see things going in a negative direction, and you can, it's sort of like you've got like, oh, I've got a bad feeling about this, because you can see and it's going in the wrong.
Well, I mean, I guess it kind of depends, because if I feel that I have an option, like if I feel there's a way that, like for example, endocrinology class that I had, I remember the first test, almost everybody failed. I failed, and I was so pissed off, like, but it drove me, just the way the teacher was, and pissed off, and I like adopted this mindset, like, okay, you know, we'll see like who's gonna fail here. And actually, I told you, I found out a few months ago when I went into his office. I had this class like 2 years ago. I was the only one in the class to get an A. And like, so I mean, at that point, when I, like after the first test, things were really looking negative. I had like a 50 in the class because of the first test, but things were really negative at that point. But, you know, it just really depends on the situation. Sometimes, yeah, if I feel like there's nothing that I can do, which is rare, because I feel like there's always something that I can do and, you know, maneuver. Probably initially, yeah, like initially the first moment when I see things spiraling downward, I'm like, shit. But then after I sit and think about it, I'm like, okay, you know, what can I do here?
But you can be a moody so-and-so, though, can't you?
Yes, I can. But, okay, like, for example, the last few nights that we were supposed to have a hangout together, and I canceled just because I, like, for personal reasons, I was not feeling up for it at all. And I hate, like, if I make plans, especially, like, if I make plans with someone who's a good friend of mine, I hate canceling on them just because I feel a certain way. Like, that's it. Yeah, so that is my, me being a moody FUCK. So, okay, would you like to scroll down just a tad?
Yes, to detailed description. It was just that bit there about the FE, but I just wanted to see if you'd noticed it in other INTJs where it's like they're almost like they're having like a tantrum. Like they can't really, you know, control their emotions that well.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen that with myself, my dad. It's like when we get to that point where we're really pissed off, which is not often, but when we get there, we will vocalize it loudly, and then we will just leave.
Yeah.
Another INTJ that I never had the pleasure of meeting in person seems, and this is speculation, this is merely just hearsay because, you know, obviously I never witnessed it in person, but he seemed very prone to having little tantrums. I don't know, because I never experienced it. So
is this a guy that you've referred to before?
I would like to, I'd rather not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's that guy that I think it is. Okay.
Yes,
right.
It's that guy that you think it is.
Right. Okay. All right. Right, detailed description.
Okay, explains which causes have led to which consequences in the present situation. Yeah, that's something I feel like I've always been pretty good at, the whole cause and effect bit. Seen this in my dad. Yeah, to everyone watching, the only other INTJ besides the guy I'm dating right now is that I've known in person is my dad, so I'm probably going to be talking about my dad a lot. And another INTJ I've never had the pleasure of meeting in person. I will mention him some, but not to the extent that I'll mention my dad. Okay. So this stuff you have highlighted in blue, is this just stuff that you wanted to discuss, or?
Well, it's just stuff that I thought was like interesting, but yeah, I mean, I think that's part of the Yeah, are you? Do you think you are immersed in the past?
Well, yes, but mostly this happens when I'm thinking about in that way. So I don't know if like my sexual variant has something to do with it. Usually when I'm immersed in the past, I'm thinking about what went wrong so I can plan for the future and like plan around negative things that are going to happen. Or I'm daydreaming about stuff that happened in the past with, you know, someone I care very much about. I guess I go to the past for the sexual variant reason, or because I'm looking at things that failed and because I'm planning in the future. Like if it's kind of weird to explain, but I'll be in the future planning stuff like something that's going to happen tomorrow with this meeting. And I'm thinking of, well, this other meeting went this way and it went wrong for this reason. And I want to take that from the past and not do that now in the future. Like think about it for the future.
Right. So part of Victor's definition of TI minus is minimizing the negative outcomes, and that seems to be what you're doing. Whereas sorry, that's for NI minus. I might have said TI minus by mistake. I got mixed up with T. So the NI minus is minimizing the negative, like I said, avoiding these things from the past. As you just described there, I think that's a good example of NI minus. NI plus is more of an emphasis on maximizing the positive rather than avoiding the negative.
Okay.
So this is why if you think of ENTJ as a less spinning type, functionally they are TENX. So they are going to be, so that means they have, so this is just to show the audience the difference in just how different ENTJ is from INTJ. Very different types. Very different types in terms of just how optimistic. In terms of optimistic, pessimistic, night and day, those two types. We got T plus NI.
Yeah, you know, I think Damon's the only ENTJ that I know, and we joked about this in the past. I think I talked about this in another hangout we did, but he joked about how his being so optimistic all the time got him into maybe some problems, but it also helped him to get ahead.
Yeah.
How me being so negative all the time has held me back.
Yeah. Right, but then he also probably said something about now he's also made mistakes, but he has the ability to move on and try because he does things quickly. He doesn't like spend so much time making a mistake, and he acts on it quickly. He can then move on to another thing, so he's not actually wasted that much time. Because the ENTJs act quickly, it's not that much of a waste of time. Whereas INTJ that takes more time. If they do a project and it fails, that's like a year or more gone.
Yeah.
So it's because I think it said stuff like, you know, get it done. If it doesn't work, try something else. We've not actually wasted that much. So the whole is a lot more speculative and a lot more like the entrepreneur. So yeah, I mean ENTJ TE plus and NI
Here,
plus
hold on.
as well.
Let me click on that screen so everyone can see it.
So this is why I call them TENX, because it's like it depends what mode they're in. If you've got ENTJ that's being like, now NE minus doesn't really mean that just means that's the best kind of NE minus, and it means they have loads of ideas and stuff, and that's why I can see like possibilities and opportunities in the future. And then positivist TE, that's about maximizing profits rather than minimizing loss, and focuses on positive outcome rather than avoiding negative outcomes. So that they are willing to take more risks, and they will fail more often, but again, because they don't spend as long on it, they can then move on to the next project. And they've got the energy to, whereas INTJ would probably be devastated by a loss and take them longer to come back. Whereas I think ENTJs live by that sort of NLP maxim of failure isn't failure, it's feedback. And I go, okay, well, you know, so it's just that. But of course, the problem the ENTJs have is that they can work themselves into an early grave because they don't know how to relax. And there might be things outside of their control. Like they think they can have the right business, but you know, the economy collapses or just the factors outside of their control, like regulatory environment, all sorts of things. So that's your difference. So big difference between INTJ and ENTJ in terms of ENTJ is. I mean, I think you have quite a bit of energy. It's just that the ENTJs will act quicker.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I ever act in a slow manner, it's because I'm thinking this might fail, or this, like, I'm held back by thinking, what if it could fail?
Yeah. Whereas the whole process of the ENTJ is maximizing the positive, taking the opportunity. Right. What else? I mean, that thing again, I think that will come up about 5 times. Clearly discerns contradictions and inaccuracies.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yes, I should have let you do that because that would have fit the profile.
It's okay.
How about clearly notices when the same sentence has been repeated? How about the profile?
It's okay. They have to fill it up somehow, right?
Yeah. Here we go. Possessing a thoughtful mind can make an impression of a clever and far-sighted woman. Cautious when making decisions. Her position is that you need to run a little ahead of the game. How about that? Jewish, like trying to like think 2 moves ahead, that kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to avoid failure, you need to.
Any examples of that?
Well, I mean, all the time. I mean, just thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow, like the meetings you're going to have. And I mean, it can range to little things, like I just said, having a meeting with someone, or like the big things, like when I'm studying and the things I implement in the gym. You have to know like what you're doing. You have to be like 2, 5, 10 steps ahead. Like you have to know what's going on. So you're implementing the right things. So you're not wasting time the fastest. And like I feel like my words are jumbling up right now. Any sense?
Do you always, because I would think that an SJ, an SI max type, would plan ahead, but I don't think they'd doubt their plan.
You don't think they'd what?
I don't think they would doubt their plan. Think over their plan, whereas I think you probably are revisiting your plan, going over it again,
all the time,
checking it. Whereas the SJ is like for instance, if you were to compare yourself with SITX, ISTJ, it's like you're probably thinking you've got your NASM and you're not questioning it, and you're like,
yeah, well, if we just look at the fitness world, and with that kind of mentality, like the SJ mentality, you say they have a plan and they're less likely to doubt themselves. This is where I think people screwed up, because they're not questioning it and they're not looking at, well, there's a lot more to it. But essentially, if they just take one plan wherever they got it and they're deciding to implement this and they're not questioning it, they can spend a lot of time and potentially waste a lot of time and fail with that plan.
Well, I mean, I did not know the actual initials for the NASM, but when I looked at it, I had a look at it today. The actual initials do sort of fill you with, oh, this sounds a bit prestigious, because what does it stand for again? The National
Academy of Sports Medicine.
Right. So to the SJ mind, and even because I've got a little bit of an SJ in me, that's oh wow, they sound like they know what they're talking about. So unless they actually do what you did and actually look at the studies, they're just saying like this, oh, wow, they are the National Board of Sport Medicine or whatever. They
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's an impressive title to them.
Yeah.
And you yourself said that you did squats for a year before.
Yeah.
So initially you did follow.
Well, it wasn't that I was following the NASM. I was just following hearsay, really.
So you can sort of like forgive them a little bit, because like you did do like the similar thing for a year.
Yeah,
You were
exactly.
able to adapt.
Exactly. I got fed up with no results, and that's when I thought, well, maybe I should start questioning this.
Whereas I think other people, they would have either just given up, or they wouldn't have been inclined to look at the science of it because it was too complicated for them. Because you know how involved it is.
Yeah, but I don't think people necessarily have to take it to the molecular level in order to really like understand it enough to implement the right things. I'm just anal retentive.
Right. Right.
So.
Do you always,
yeah, if there is.
Always the safest course of action? Do you always go for that?
For the most part, yeah. For the most part.
Right, let's go to the next one. I'll get those.
Yeah, seeks the shortest and most worthwhile route to the goal. There it is again. Thrifty. Continually monitors revenues. Yes. Looks for places and ways to make profitable investments. He thinks thoroughly through the methodology, examines all the necessary specifications. That's funny. Actually, before we got on this video chat, I sat down and I did a theoretical calculation of the moles of lactate. You would, okay, two lifters, a lifter who implemented 1 minute's rest intervals and a lifter who implemented 3-minute rest intervals. And I did like a theoretical calculation of the moles of lactate. And because I was just reading, creates catalogs, databases, archives, and collections. And really nice, I'll show you.
Right, then.
See?
I've forgotten how much a mole is, but it's
just a part. Like a mole is just a. Okay, there it is. Yeah, but I mean that's very true.
It's a certain number. I can't remember how much of a molecule of how much of a molecule.
No, a mole is just like a part, like a certain amount. It's not. It doesn't have an actual number attached to it.
Oh, I thought it was a certain amount.
No. That's when you're getting into, like you're looking at, like the periodic table and the moles of like how many, talking about, because I had to do it for chemistry.
Yeah, and that's how I remember
in and of itself.
When I did A-level chemistry.
Yeah. Amused Ben. Okay, I'm sorry. Freedom matters of comfort and health. They already, they're restating a lot of things. On a trip brings along a set of objects and provides a guaranteed minimum level of convenience. Means cleanliness. Yeah, they restated that. Traditional methods. Why did that amuse you, Ben?
Well, because it's like, damn it, I've got to use a traditional method. That's why, because I've had to resort to using the traditional method. Damn it! I want to do it the new way, but
Often a food format. Yeah, see, they're like, I feel like most of this we could cut it out and make it so much shorter. Products. Can get by on very simple food. Yes, this is Hailey being a tightwad. I mean, I can get by on the absolute bare minimum. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
She's not quite yet at the eating out of dumpsters stage, though.
Except if it were in a plastic bag, then I might consider it. And I'm not joking. Okay. Decide if I'm joking or not. Okay, his external appearance is either unkempt or neglected, or on the contrary, carefully devised in accordance with the current norms. This depends on the social circle and his nature. Okay. You know, every INTJ that I have known, they are well kept in their appearance. Not necessarily like wearing gaudy, flashy things, but just very clean, very particular about their, I don't know, like nicely shaved and just very clean. Questions, comments, concerns? Nothing. Fuck you, Hailey.
So what would you say? What? You sound cut out a little bit.
It's fine. It's fine.
Right.
Okay. Estimates attitudes towards himself that displays emotions. Yes, intrusive. I cannot stand someone who like intrudes on my space. Or when someone else starts asking about my personal business, like if they're not a very close friend of mine, which I don't have many of those, and they start asking about, oh, so tell me about your schedule. Tell me about shit that's none of their business. That really irritates me.
Yeah, I'm similar in that way.
In extreme situations or when he feels hidden antagonism, he can openly express his annoyance. Yes, I can get really sarcastic. My sister, which I believe is an ISTJ family, was the instigator. And my sister and I would get into lots and lots of arguments, which would usually I would be the one to leave first. I would get really loud and then would just leave and need to be alone. And she would often try to follow me, and it just never ended well. Would you mind scrolling?
Yep.
A little bit.
So what do you? I mean, what's your overall? Because you told me off air what you think of this profile. What would you?
Yeah, no, I really relate to it. I think it's great. I think it's great. Other than the fact that it repeats things a few times, it's really good. This part I find particularly true. When in good physical shape, he is confident in himself. This is probably just all in my head, but on the days where I look in the mirror and I feel small, like I feel that my muscles have deflated, I look good, I don't feel good. Like, and I think, like I was telling you, I think this ties back to, okay, like when I feel that I don't look good, it makes me feel incompetent. Like I haven't learned enough to be able to take my body where I want it. So I think that's like the underlying,
that's a real,
like the problem.
Like that sentence there is like sexual 5. When I don't look good enough, the sexual part, and then it shows I've not been competent enough to do it. That sort of like emblematic, I would think, of like, that's like an Enneagram thing being very important.
He needs to be prodded from outside, requires strong support. What is, like, can you tell me about, like, what this might mean? Support? Because that's something I don't necessarily...
Well, you're not that type of NITX. You're not that type of INTJ. This is the kind of INTJ that is a little bit more of... This is where you're thinking of like almost like the stereotypical computer nerd, where they're not really enacting. They need to be sort of like prodded. Like they might be doing things on their computer, so it might be, they might be thinking long term in terms of, oh, they're going to be like a computer programmer or something, but they might be like stuck in the weeds a bit and they need some like prodding a bit. Hey, get it out there. You're not.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we're looking at it like that, like, there have been instances where I've put something off, again, because I just don't feel like it's perfect. I feel like it could fail. And taking other people to be like, hey, get this going. And I'm like, okay, I'll get there. But, you know, it did help. So, down. Yeah, I'm not one for confrontation. Although, when we were talking about, when we were going through the Enneagram, the tri-type, if I see someone getting bullied or something like that, I can get confrontational. It's not something I like, but it's something I feel needs to be done.
Right. Do you have like an empathetic connection to the person who's being bullied?
I mean,
you feel their pain, like when you see them being bullied.
Yes, but I feel that I've always been a good empathizer. Like I've been putting myself in their shoes and being able to, obviously not 100% understand, because no, you can't ever understand exactly what someone's going through. But I feel like I've been pretty decent at being able to understand like it is, like whatever it is that they're dealing with. And yeah, for that reason, when I see that happening, like someone getting bullied or something like that, I can't take it.
Right.
Feels depressed if others do not grant him attention. The only time that happens with me is with those people I'm closest to. If I feel like I'm being ignored by those I care about, then I can go into like this really sad, depressed state.
Yes, I think that bit should have been added to that, because that bit should have been added. That bit, because I think that they might have thought that went without saying, but yes, that needed to. I think that bit, that little nuance needed to be added. That
if he is in poor mood, do not try to comfort and cheer him, but leave him alone. Yeah. I'm upset or something, I need to be left alone. Except 5 again, with that one person, that seems to be the only person I can be around if I'm upset, that can bring my mood up. Everyone else, no, I need to be left alone. He jokes, behaves in a playful and unrestrained manner. With my best friend, who he is a ENFP, we get like this a lot. Yeah, if the other party does not respond, he stops his attempts. Yeah. With this failed attempt of mine with this other INTJ guy a few months back, took me a while to, but I was pretty adamant about that, but I just had to get over it. So envisions and presents things as more complicated than they really are. Yeah, I feel like that's one of my problems sometimes when just thinking about simple things or how something's going to go. All this really difficult, just elaborate.
How is your diagram going? You said you're going to draw the big ass cell. How is that going?
Yeah, I have the big ass cell. Actually, right here. I'll click on my screen to show everyone. My big ass cell, which is, I don't know how well you guys can see this, but yeah, I'm still working on it. I feel that it needs to be, like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go out like all the fucking way and do this with every little bit of detail, because that's the whole point of doing this. Okay, this little bit, although he can instill hope into those who have been demoralized. I mean, I feel like that is getting into what I was just talking about as far as like not necessarily like standing up for those who are being bullied, but in a sense, like almost this screams mentor to me, like you're, which I mean, that's something that I've always felt like, not that I'm so much good at, but something I definitely like to inspire hope in someone, like especially in the field I'm in, like someone who really wanting to learn and wanting to know, like I will go out of my way to try to help them and teach them, even though I'm not the best verbal communicator.
I think you do well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, compared to, like, if someone asked me a question on the spot, I would rather tell them that I will write up a reply and give them the reply that way, because I feel like I just won't get everything out in a clear, concise manner with everything I want to include. Okay, with pleasure, he studies all the novelties and innovations in his sphere. Yeah, with pleasure. Yeah, can be rigorous with details and meticulous to the point. Yeah, yes.
Oh, so in that middle paragraph there, I think that's talking about NE. So
Where?
Well, that middle, well, the one that says resents that knowledge, and then that paragraph.
Okay.
I think all of that is about like the control NE in the NITX, in the INTJ. And I was just wondering is, well, I'm an NE person. So when I'm like giving this off, do you get these sort of reactions to certain things I say?
Well, I know sometimes when we are just talking about something randomly, I feel a little overwhelmed because you jump to so many things, and sometimes I kind of feel a little bad because I'm still thinking about the first thing that you said, and you're talking about like thing number 5, and I'm like, okay, so what about this thing number 1? And I like backtrack it for us.
Right. Well, and I'm happy to backtrack. So what would it usually be a type thing that? Would it usually be a typology thing that I go on to do?
No, it could be anything we're talking about.
Right. Right.
Okay, anything else you want to discuss on this page before we move to the next one?
There's stuff there about because the sphere of interest will be more narrow, I believe,
yes.
compared to
An inch wide and a mile deep.
Yes. Yes, you're an inch wide and a mile deep, and there's NTPs, especially ENTPs, can be a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yeah, yeah. Like everyone watching, we will be talking about, like he will bring up so many random things that I will not have ever. Definitely.
For random, read related, tangentially related. Related but not important. That's the truth of it. Right. And then, as I say here, TI plus it's like SI in Behrens theory. So it's like that's why it has stuff. So how much does that fit you about this? Like works in accord with established methods and stuff. I mean, how well does that fit or not?
Well, I mean, what is established methods? I mean, I'm not necessarily against established methods if they are what works and what is the most effective at getting you to the goal. I don't care. I just want what works and what works the most efficiently and the fastest. That's what I'm concerned about.
Right, because it looks here. Right, in my opinion, this is an example of the functional tail wagging the dog. Because Victor has defined TI plus as logic of uniform structure, and TI plus is very SJ-ish. So it's like, so it's very like, this is the process, this is the logic to follow. And so when you write in, so if you believe, so if you define TI plus like that, and you have INTJ, NITX as what we got here, NI minus, TI plus, and we've got demonstrative TE. Just do the model G. If you there we go, on there's the model G of it. You got TI plus working there with the NI. Then Victor's going to think, oh, that means that they're almost SJ-ish in their following of procedures. But as you just did it right there, what you said there about if it works, do it. That bit maybe should have been added. But sometimes I can see with Victor's profiles that there's something's in it because the function is wagging the dog. The functional tail is wagging the dog. So it's like, oh, because it's got TI plus there, that means they're by the book. Therefore, I've got to write it there by the book. When in real life, in actuality, they might not necessarily be by the book.
Right.
It's just that they appear to be by the book. To them, it's, I'm doing it because it works. I'm not doing it because it's by the book.
Exactly.
And I'm not looking at it as an authority the way an SJ does. I'm just doing it because if it ain't broke, every now and then you get these, because areas where Victor is a little bit overly deductive, and I can see where.
I completely agree.
Right.
Okay. So if you'd like to go to the next page.
The next page. Right. This is where we get, this is good stuff. Manner of communication. This is where we get some interesting stuff and there's less repetition.
Okay, and the ENTJ is the logical subtype, is that correct?
No. Sorry, what
I don't understand. It says the logical subtype and then the intuitive subtype.
Right. That just means the logical subtype is just the type with extra good TE, and the intuitive subtype is
Oh.
So they'd be like, so it'd be like, you know how sometimes people write INTJ, NI, INTJ, TE.
Okay.
You have qualities of both of these. Now, this is an older. Now, based on this might be something that I'll have to ask him how long ago he wrote this, because now he doesn't have 2 subtypes, he has 4 subtypes, because he has DC and H. This may have been something that he wrote like 20 years ago or something. I don't know. So the new stuff, the Model G profile, is in the process of being translated, folks.
Yeah, I can see this both in myself too. Sometimes can be demonstratively rude and vulgar. Intuitive subtype speaks softly with a smile, leaves behind a general impression of an intelligent, educated man. It's the 3rd time. The I.L.I can in great detail describe his future actions. Much interest in his listeners. He never shows himself.
Which
yeah, I'm just thinking of that one. It's talking about turbulent emotions, hustle and bustle, fuss and hurry. He never shows himself. This reminds me of that one particular INTJ. Sometimes talking to him, I could almost feel it pent up in him, but he just refused just to ever. They said that again too. He dislikes it very much and he's prodded from a state of calm and relaxation. Communicates with people at close distances, earning their respect by his wisdom and foresight. Yeah. So yeah, there it is again. Skeptically evaluates any undertakings and activities. Characterized by being such a pessimist.
Nothing will come of this.
Yeah.
That's like the 19th century version of INTJ. Nothing will come of this.
Okay. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to.
Can you imagine like INTJ during the American Revolution? Nothing will come of this. Probably. Right.
How do you think an INTJ female would survive, like in that time? I mean, with how women were expected to be and the rules they were expected to follow, well, my tongue would probably get me lynched. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, if you're talking about 18th century, that's a lot different from like the Salem witch trial stuff. I mean, that's
yeah.
I mean. The 19th century, there was big advances. So there's a lot of that history has been rewritten. Yeah, they were women who were, it all depends how they did it and who they were. So for instance, in Britain, you had Ada Lovelace, who was, anyway, that's different. Anyway, but that bit there, that bit, I've underlined in purple, modeling the behavior of a person based on his past personal experience with them. The I.L.I can in great detail describe his future actions. So, for instance, we were talking a bit about that, about somebody like a day or so ago, when we were trying to work out someone's type.
Yeah.
And so this is probably, Dario came up with a wonderful phrase where I would say, I was going around the houses saying something like that people who are interested in typology are not like their normal type. And Dario just phrased it perfectly. Atypical of their type. So it's like an INTJ that's interested in typology is atypical of their type because they're going to know more about people and feelings and differences than the normal INTJ.
Well, do you think like the variants have anything to do with it? Because to tell you the truth, not that I'd lie to you anyway, but it's just a phrase. I'm sorry, I just thought of that because whenever someone would tell my dad, oh, to tell you the truth, he would always be like, so you mean you were going to lie to me? Okay, what the fuck was I going to say? Lost my train of thought. Oh, yes, okay. So I only have ever to know more about the way the mind works of people in the past or people I care very much about. Just random people, I don't really, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially for the INTJ, the way, because it's like they don't really think about people unless it's those particular people that they do care about.
Yeah.
Right. What else?
Okay, shall we?
Yes, we shall go down. Features of behavior.
I feel like they're leaving out a few words here.
That second. Now, again, this is another example of deduction, of Victor's deduction. Like here, where it says there, under normal conditions, the I.L.I is quite lazy and relaxed. Well, I don't know how true that is, but what I can say is that that is what the temperament says they are, in terms of like the NI and SI DOMs are meant to be like lazy and relaxed, but at least this profile nuances it to such an extent where it says when they do act, they're doing it to earn profit, or it's not sort of random spending of energy. They're going to spend their energy productively. So I can see that. So, and compared to ENTJ, ENTJs have a lot more energy than INTJ, and they just go at a faster pace. Probably because they're not doing all that doubt. They're not.
Usually distinguished by frugality. Yes, dislikes giving gifts. I don't like to give gifts just at random to random people. There, Ben, channel Ben, I don't know his actual channel name, or maybe that is it, but he had a pretty funny video on this, on INTJs and giving gifts, which I thought was great. Yeah, I don't lend money to people. I either, if they're a close friend and they need money, I will just give it to them. I don't lend money, especially to family and friends. When it comes to himself, not stingy with personal expenses. Yeah, I mean, that's true, because I want to get myself something of really good quality, like when I do spend.
Yeah.
Like going off. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Like when you get a webcam, I decided to get the most expensive one I could.
Yeah, well, I wanted good quality videos. So it wasn't, I mean, it was for a purpose, I guess. Everything I is like has a purpose. It has a useful,
right,
like a value. Frequently washes his hands. I actually don't wash my hands as much as I should at all. I remember I used to come home from the gym like years ago when I lived at home, and my mom would always be like, have you washed your hands? You touched all that grimy, dirty gym equipment and you haven't even washed your hands, and you came home and touched the doorknob and you touched all this stuff. And I was like, fucking really?
This is like saying, what were the people like who used the equipment before you? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yes. Ben amused. Ben, you should be amused because I definitely do this. I check all the lights. I make sure everything's off. My hair straightener's off. Like one time I left my hair straightener on and I got home and saw it on after like being gone for 10 hours and that scared the hell out of me. And I thought, great way to burn the house down, Hailey.
Yeah, but you're also thinking, the bill!
Well, straightener, that's probably not going to be much. Thinking that the heat plate was actually pretty durable because there was no mark, no burnt dark spot whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, it was great. And I was like, you know, quality. So yeah, that's something I do. That's something my dad was big on too. He would go around the house shutting the lights off and what do you think I have stock in General Electric?
Right. The something I came up with to try and help explain static and dynamic. This, in terms of internally and externally, we talked about this maybe a few months ago. We talked about this, where the types, like say, if we look at SP as artisans, Dionysians, SE max types, they're static, but their behavior is dynamic. But I would say that's because they're bored. If you look at SJs and INTJ, like yeah, SJs, so Epimethians, Guardians, Stabilizers, SI max types, they're all concrete collaborators. I've got more. Logistical safekeepers, caregivers. They are internally dynamic. So it's like, so you could say that their behavior is a compensation for internal disharmony. And that's the same with INTJ, where it's almost like an OCD thing, where the things outside of it's like their external environment and the things that they are responsible for will affect their internal mood.
Yeah. To study or work on a project or something, and it's not the whole house, it's just my immediate area, like my study area, it has to be picked up and clean. And that is true about the internal disharmony or whatever the phrase that you just gave it. I do sometimes feel like there's such a clusterfuck going on in my head, like, and you know, prior to knowing about all this goody fun stuff about personality, I've never have thought about it before, but it makes perfect sense. So,
whereas dynamic type, static types, like Jeff has talked publicly about not wanting to clean his apartment, and him like not wanting to do it, not wanting to make his bed, and because so you got to think like, so for a static type, being in such a condition is not going to get on his nerves. It's not going to change his mood. But for a dynamic type that is affected by their environment, that is going to get on their nerves. And so it's like I said, it's like, it's almost like their external judgy behavior, world organizing is, so their external rationality, like their judginess, and this is where MBTI is better in terms of like, it measures someone's behavior. And so that sort of gets past someone's self-image. Because if someone has a self-image of being a judger, but they aren't really, just like a wannabe judger, it's like actions. Are you late? Do you arrive on time? Like, these are better things because it's harder to lie about such things. Because they're matters of fact, you know. Do you do things, you know what I mean? How structured you are is a good way of, is a better way, in my opinion, of judging rationality of an extroverted function. So, for instance, so we talked about before, like internally, INTP, rational, a judger. They want all their thoughts organized. Externally, not so much. Our external behavior is not judged and organized. It's NE. But internally, we're structured. INTJs, internally, as you could probably say, not so much. Not structured, but externally, it is like, so for you to be happy, you have to have your world structured. So you have some sort of, so you can have like, so that your karma or something. How does it make you feel when you have things structured around you and when things aren't structured? How does it make you feel on the inside?
How does it make me feel? Well, I mean, particularly when I have and do work or study, I can't. Well, I mean, I can if I have a time crunch, but I feel like I will be so much more stressed out if things aren't. And I just feel like I need to be orderly and top of everything. I have to know where everything is. I have to have everything in its place. If that's not done, I just don't feel like I can put my 100% focus on this, because I don't know why. I really don't know why. It's really weird, I guess. Yeah.
But the fact that your external surroundings actually affect your mood. In DCNH, Victor calls it connecting and ignoring, and the dynamic types are connecting. So you connect to any kind of disorder around you. Like anything around you where you're responsible for the order or disorder, that will, like as you said before, that will affect your mood. But whereas where static types, it doesn't affect their mood. They just ignore it. Yes, it's a mess, so what? And I think that with INTPs, there's a little bit in between. There's a little bit of organization, but not too much, just enough. So the JP thing for introverts, very tricky. With extroverts, it's clear. It really is clear with extroverts. You can see the difference between EJ and EP. It really is quite clear. Because they're the same. Because their internal and externals are the same. Okay, have we done all of that? Right. Well, we've done that, and then we're going up to appearance. I could have added some sarky bits. I could have added some bits. I should have added some bits and pretended they were part of the profile. Like I should some bits about you, and like I could have made some references to you and added them. But I was in a bit of a rush. If I'd had more time, I would have added some bits.
Asterisk note: INTJs can wear bikinis. Yeah.
And bunny ears.
And bunny ears.
See video on Little Miss Harber's channel, INTJ the Assholes, or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I titled it. Eyes are expressive, somewhat sad. Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah, we've talked.
And
there definitely can be an FE polar face. There can be a certain look on certain INTJs where it's like, whoa, INTJ, but they just have a certain look. With certain ones, you can. Have you had that experience, Hailey? It's like, well, yes, INTJ, I can tell.
Well, the only other INTJ besides my dad that I've met in person, that was the last thing I was thinking about, was trying to tell if he's an INTJ based on. Yeah, I was not even. I guess to answer your question, no, I've never had that experience.
Right.
But this INTJ that I recently met, he's also sexual primary like I am, and I find that we both are very intense, and when we talk to one another, we are just like, we get this intense, almost sad look. But I mean, we're not sad, but if someone were to be watching us, they might think that.
Right.
It's easy to imagine him being surrounded by a crowd shouting, "Crucify him." Great. Yeah. I.L.I's lips are usually poorly defined and expressionless.
Oh, this is what I mean. What I sort of mean by the face is like what Hillary Clinton does. That's the FE break face, where they cannot do fake emotion. They cannot fake it.
I'm really bad at that too. I mean, it's like us opening up the video, and I told you, I was like, I'm not going to be able to act that out very well.
Yes, folks, what I suggested was that Hailey pretend to introduce the Hangout in a trance and then pretend I put her under the fluence. But no, she wasn't going to go with that.
And also, this makes me a horrible liar. I'm a very, very bad liar.
That's the thing. That's what I would say about INTJs. Terrible liars. Hillary Clinton is like... that's why I think to me it's so obvious she's like INTJ. Like her facial expressions, like her fake smiles. That is what they mean by like FE break. That is like unhealthy. But she's very unhealthy. Very unhealthy.
Have I gone wrong?
Oh, what? Joking about getting off a?
I know.
12. Folks, can check this out.
Yeah.
I'll let the audience know. She is on tape joking about getting off, and she defended this man who raped a 12-year-old girl, and she joked about it, saying that we probably did do it, and you know, there's not much FI there, not the good kind anyway. So, and that is on tape, folks. So people can search for that. Right.
Clothing and appearance are dependent on the subtype. I.L.I of logical subtypes may look sloppy, as if nobody cares about this person. Why is Ben amused? This person. Okay, yeah. Still, why are you amused, Ben?
Why, as if nobody takes care of this person. Oh, that's funny. It's like, imagine that's pointing him out, and it's like, oh, he looks sloppy. Does no one take care of him?
Yes, okay. Intuitive subtypes often neat, disclose are generally well, very clean and tidy. Yeah, this is what I've seen, and I mean, maybe all the INTJs I've known were intuitive subtypes. Neat, very well kept. I don't think I've met someone that I feel is an INTJ who was not.
Right, and we're going on to the next page. There we got. There's some good stuff here. Let's go to about there. Oh.
Yes, spends a lot of time on reading and thinking. He's read in great detail and vividly recounts it for others. Yeah. He has strong intuition that allows him to make predictions about outcomes of any undertakings. I feel like this is, in a way, restating what it said in the past about like the INTJ being cautious of new things and
yeah.
This is required of him. Every INTJ I've known has been very early to anything they have to be at, including myself. I feel stressed. Even if I get there on time, like if I just make it and I'm like a minute early, I feel stressed out. Like I need to get there and have time to scope everything out, think about what's going to happen, think about the meeting, what I'm going to say. I need that.
Right.
I remember when I used to have projects at school, man, I would get there like an hour early. And when I would have tests for this one 7 a.m. class, biomechanics class, I would get there and the door would always be unlocked, and I would go in at like 6 a.m. and I would just go up to the whiteboard and just write like my notes to the point where there was this one, what do you call him? And she thought I was a teacher preparing like for the class, and she was emptying out the waste baskets, and she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were the teacher." I was like, "No." It's great.
You probably took that as a compliment.
Yes, I did. Has a sense of humor and can comfort the despairing. Yes, a skeptic by nature. That's the problem. But again, that's kind of me looking at it from like inside the box. I am very skeptical. Very, I'd say. Notices all contradictions, oppositions for like what, the 5th time now this is saying that? Subject to doubt and frequent fluctuations. Well, right, I mean, it is. Poorly maintains internal balance, not being able to control his moods. Yeah, again. Review, right? This must be like problematic overview. He's sometimes is too picky and cantankerous. Other times too kind and yielding. Yeah, I think that that is the case, depending on who it is I'm dealing with. His emotional fluctuations reflect on others. Because of his thoroughness, does not always have time to see his projects through to completion. Yeah, I would agree with that. Because of his thoroughness, does not always have time to see his projects through to completion, comma, but is not very happy about this. Cautious and hesitant in new endeavors. He doesn't like to rush. Yeah, I don't like to rush. Mistrustful of people who run too much ahead. I mean, it depends. People who do so in a seemingly manner. Like I'm sure I might think this of an ENTJ just wanting to like hurry up and new project. I'd be like, you know, whoa, slow down a minute. And I'm not so much mistrustful of his intentions, but mistrustful that it might fail because they're going at it too quick, and they're going to look at me like, well, how are you going to get anything done if you don't act?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can be very stubborn, very stubborn. And yes, to the point where I can be rude. Yeah, it does not comply with direct pressure. No.
But having said that, I mean, ENTJ is going to still do a lot more preparation than, say, ESTP.
Yeah.
We talk about
yeah, so imagine, yeah, imagine me being in a project with the ESTP. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, I mean, like, so it's like compared to INTJ, compared to INTJ, the ENTJ is not prepared, but compared to like most other types, they are.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, can you scroll a little bit? Move the page. Yes, thank you very much. I don't give compliments a lot, now that I think about it. Only to those I feel of them. Yes, to talk about shortcomings and flaws. And I think, oh, well, thank you. Yeah, this little bit considers it more appropriate to talk about shortcomings and flaws. Because if I'm talking to someone about something and I'm telling them about something negative, it's to try to tell them how to fix it or how we can like to improve their situation and what's going on. Yes, I am
See,
not. This is why. Oh, go ahead.
You see, Dan, this is where certain types is a lot of times when INTJs think they're doing it to be constructive, but their tone of voice is getting at the person. It's not like they're not saying it in a sympathetic way. You know what I mean? It's like the tone of voice does, because, like I said, the ability to control their emotions. It's like their tone of voice does not match their intent that they're trying to help the person by pointing out the shortcomings and flaws. It actually comes across as this person is enjoying
picking apart everything that's going on.
Yeah, enjoying picking it apart and the negative. Like you saw with Kurt Avon when I showed you the Avon's best put downs and jibes.
Okay.
From plate 7.
This little bit, he finds it difficult to pressure or persuade anyone to do anything. This is why I'm not a good salesman. I'm a horrible salesman. Jobs that require me to have to go up to people and try to persuade them to buy something. No.
But I think you've done something similar though, haven't you?
What do you mean?
Oh. You mentioned that sometimes you've had to in the past put on a what is it called? Put on a face.
Well, yeah, if I have to, but I don't enjoy it, and I'm definitely not good at it.
Right.
From him, one cannot demand and expect. Lol. Okay, now this last thing, I feel that while I'm very bad, like if someone is in front of me crying about something, I might not know how to soothe them and calm them down and be able to be like comforting, but I feel like I can put myself in their shoes and feel like what they're feeling, even though if they were to look at me, poker face, looking like a total asshole, like I don't care. But like, yeah, these situations will happen, and I just feel like I don't know what to do, but I feel like I do understand.
Yeah, I was just about to say it should put in capitals, show emotional empathy. They can feel it very strongly, and that was in the Kersey profile. INTJs can feel these things very strongly, but they don't know how to express it, or not confident enough to express it. Or if they do express it, it all comes out as
wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have a similar thing where I feel the empathy, but it's like, how do I then say what? I don't know what to say. What is the right thing to say?
Yeah, and the only time that I feel that things come out right, but okay, and I was gonna say like with that one person, but even then, like even when I first like meet this individual, I should say met this individual, if something were to happen within 5 minutes of meeting this person, I would still be kind of stuck in that I kind of don't know what to do. So I guess it, to an extent, it is having like being able to know someone well enough.
So who are you talking about now? I've lost track.
The INTJ I just met recently.
Oh, okay.
Can you scroll a little bit?
Yes. Recommended occupation. That's an interesting one. Counseling.
Counseling. I was just gonna say yes. I have this yearn to like inspire hope in people, but I'm just such a shitty communicator. And when like you just said, it will seem like even though the INTJ might have like a good heart and wanting, like they want to help this person, the negatives, it sounds like the way they're communicating it sounds like they're enjoying picking apart the person. And I have been in that situation before where I feel like I'm trying to help someone, but they feel like I'm just being an asshole. Cold-blooded. They're very serious. Yeah.
Now, Hailey, there is a video on your channel. I don't know if it's still there. Actually, I don't think it's still there. But you
Which
remember
one?
you remember the lady in quotation marks that said, "Oh, you can't be an INTJ because you don't look like an INTJ," and then you did like
Yes.
a sarcastic
Yes.
response video.
Yes.
And I felt that you did enjoy doing that.
Oh, I did very much enjoy it. Well, when someone's an asshole to me and they're like blatantly being an asshole, then I will like sorry for, you know, like making a video like that.
So that might be the thing where it's easier for the INTJ to express negative emotions than positive emotions.
Yeah. By their nature, they're very serious. Yeah, that is definitely something I've seen in every INTJ that I have ever known, including myself. Calls attention to details that have been overlooked. This should, yeah. Critic, And I feel like this is kind of epi. Slowly but steadily, he leads a person to understand the need of taking some particular actions. Any comments you have, Mr. Ben?
Just so people know about what dialectic means. It's this thing where you have a thesis and you get like maybe it doesn't work out very well, and then there's an antithesis, that sort of opposite viewpoint, and then they sort of like come together in a synthesis. So a dialectical thinking maybe is the ability to go, the way Robert McKee talks about it is like they can like think of, well, on this hand, well, on the other hand, and then like try to bring things together out of those two viewpoints and then move forward.
Okay, so like kind of being the devil's advocate.
Yeah, but then be able to like synthesize it. Okay, well, the devil's got a point, so let's synthesize that into a new view.
Okay.
And then when you got that new view, it then might spurn another like antithesis of that. And so like it's this sort of like process of synthesis, antithesis, synthesis. No, so thesis, antithesis, synthesis, and then the synthesis spawns another antithesis, and then you create that kind of dialectical type thinking, where always second guessing and using those second guesses to develop a new theory, and it going on and on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about that bit there about, do you feel your intuition is objective, or do you think it's a weird NI thing?
Yes. I think it's objective when I'm looking for an answer to something. The objective, I definitely have the ability to remove like all my subjective opinion. Well, I guess that's kind of redundant to say, right? Subjective opinion. So no.
What about sometimes what about in the area of feelings and relationships? You might have a kind of an intuition in that area, where it's more of a feeling.
Well, if I'm trying to decide if I should pursue something and I look at, well, what's happened in the past with this person, could this person possibly screw me over, but I don't know what's going to happen. Therefore, I can only be objective to a point because I don't know the future. So it depends on how much I'm willing to risk.
Right.
Not to continue.
Okay, I see. So you're always trying to be... as objective as like do a mental list of like a highly emotional situation, pros and cons.
Kind of, yeah.
Risk assessment, cost benefit analysis.
Yes.
Right. Right, because when Dario was writing that in like 8 Keys of Self-Leadership, I was like, this is so INTJ. Right. Have we done this bottom paragraph here?
Yeah, because you just asked me if my intuition was objective.
Right, okay. I don't know about this radicalism thing.
What is the definition of radicalism?
Well, it's when someone believes someone has gone too far. So, for instance, Hailey, if you suddenly started blowing up buildings in the NASM headquarters, then I would say you've become a radical anti-NASM person. If you like take things a little bit too far.
Only manifests when he sees that there was a significant slowdown in the natural rhythm of movement. So in other words, you only go to the extreme when you see that like the way you like life to go, which is following the natural rhythm, is significantly coming to a halt.
I think it's like if you think that, because naturally all things will take care of their own course, but then if it's getting too slow, like if there's like too
then
much,
you want to step in and take action.
then they might snap. It's like, oh, this is getting ridiculous. I can't wait this long.
Okay, yeah.
Because otherwise, if it's like, oh, I'm patient, I'll wait because things are going my way, I'll just wait for the world to catch up. You know, I can be patient. It's like me with this dollar thing. I know it's going to collapse. Sorry. But, you know, you could buy gold. Right. Right. Euro's not too clever either, so is the pound, not too clever. Right, okay, so we've done all that. Next page. And what we got here? Right, here we go. Let's do these.
Okay. I'm just going to shut my trap. Able to deliver before an audience lengthy and detailed explanations of unfolding events in time and make predictions concerning their outcome. Okay, basis assumption on contrasting. Yes. What you have in purple outlined bases his assumptions on contrasting and comparing the total amount of information he has gathered about a particular object or person.
Oh yeah, in terms of you talked about that. You do that with people. You track them down. You find out all their online profiles and everything.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, yes, it is to learn about them. But if I'm at a point where I like someone enough to stalk them on the internet, then I mean, there's nothing I can find out that's going to make me run the other direction. Just to get to know them, not necessarily to form any new assumptions.
Right.
And thus rarely undertakes anything that doesn't guarantee some return in the future. Yes. He does not waste energy on small one-time events. Exerts himself only in cases of major opportunities.
I mean, no, it can be.
Yeah, and see, this is what...
Yeah, I know it can be repetitive, but at least it like gets the point home to the person after they've read the profile. Because like, there's certain points, and I think that it's good that certain points are repeated because they're worth emphasizing, although maybe it could have done with some editing.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time he spends waiting for the right moment to get the desired result with minimum of effort. I might have worded this most of the time is spent waiting for the right moment to get the desired result. And like, because he's looking to minimize the risk, minimum of effort. I think minimizing the risk is a little bit more important than minimizing the effort, a lot of it more important. If I just made up a phrase there. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay, this feels at ease and more confident in an environment in which every person is pursuing his or her own benefit. Ooh. Everyone's up the INTJ's ass. Like, I don't understand what this is trying to say.
Oh, this is basically, well, if I was to be cheeky, I would say is the INTJ feels at ease when everybody else is acting as just as selfish, it's just this selfish and single-minded away. So does your knee, young Hailey, have a bunny ears on it?
Yes, it does. Maintains relations with others on a business basis.
If their spelling is good.
Yeah. This is so true, and this is probably what really defines me as an asshole sometimes. Loses interest in people who do not bring any real benefit. That is pretty true. Very true. Yeah.
What are the benefits of knowing me? Ooh, cheeky question.
Well, if we're gonna get touchy-feely here, this is Hailey being cynical and kind of misanthropic. The majority of people I find just, I want to be around people. If you want me to break this down for you over a public Google Hangout, I can do that. But
yes,
I mean, you stimulate my mind. Essentially, I can talk to you about MBTI. I can talk to you about various other topics that most people don't give a shit about. You like are very honest and sincere, and all those things coupled together. Yeah, I mean that alone benefits in my life, and most people don't. So.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. Okay, but if he makes a decision, he will try to implement it into reality with all his powers. Rigorously check and verify everything, trying not to lose sight of the details. Cannot work quickly. Yeah, when studying something new, he relies on intuition, lost and instead places more trust in information he has meticulously gathered in. Can you scroll just a tad?
Right. Oh, with the squares in the way.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, this was pretty true as far as when I was first learning all this stuff on hypertrophy. I mean, how could I couldn't just pull this information, out of, I had to read it first and then use, like, I don't want to say my NI, I don't know what else to call it, but just sit and piece it together, like, out of the existing knowledge that I learned.
Oh, yes, there's a video. You did a good video where you pieced together the theory and the practice, where you talked about something like why squats are a shitty glute developer.
Glute developer?
I like that video. I watched it last night where, yes, I should have watched it months ago, where you talked about why, because you've not got continuous tension all the way through, that you don't get the metabolic stress, and so it's not a great exercise.
Yeah, and I mean, that's not something I learned in a book like that. All the things that I discussed in the video, I mean, okay, I don't want to get off topic here, but to an extent, the things I discussed aren't all theory. I mean, if we look at EMG charts, like squats are a quad lift, and that's not new. But a lot of the things I do talk about were not initially learned in a book somewhere. They were things I had to put together in my mind. Let's move on, because I don't want to get off topic.
And that would be an example of you using TI, and of how INTJ is strong at TI. Like, you've not like you've pieced together things that are very, very solid. Those things, and it made to me that's all like, oh, that's good TI, that you've put together things that's solid, because you know continuous tension is a principle, and you know that in that exercise that muscle is not under tension, because of how it moves, it goes off and it goes into other muscles rather than the glutes, and so that's logical. So they, like I said, you were able to work that out yourself. But it's like it from a TE thing, very much science based, of course, where it's like, well, this is just 2 add 2. I'm not putting this theory out my backside, my well-developed backside. I'm just.
Well, I mean, that's I agree with what you're saying, but also if I run into information down the road that has been confirmed, and this contradicts with what I have. That's going to take the place, like the objective information is going to cause me to throw those old theories out the door, however long I've worked on them, and too bad, so sad. Yeah, it's going to suck because I've spent so much time on it, but objective information always outweighs my subjective opinion.
Yeah, now the TINX is going to be less likely to throw away their theory. And you can get TINX, INTP that's stuck in a loop, the TINSI, where you can have, because they love their theory so much, and the theory is internally consistent and stuff, and it's like they will not want to do the TE, and they'll say, oh, you can find evidence for everything. So, but in my case, through my biology degree, I've had that scientific method. I appreciate the scientific method. And so sometimes what people do sometimes say about Victor is that it's overly TI, and there's certain things, like I said, there's loads of good stuff, but every now and then there's something, and again, it's those introverted sensing types where they can be a mixture, and it's like I said, the functional tail wagging the dog sometimes, but other times there's loads of fantastic stuff, and like with this profile, it's on point.
Okay, shall we move on?
Yes. We did implement them. We've got main characteristics now. That bit surprised me about collaborative type.
Collaborative type. Here, hold on. I'm getting there. Yeah, not inclined to seek leadership, however. Yes, if required. Yes, if people express their incompetent, ridiculous, idiot ability, then yes. So the partner, yes. Yeah, I disagree with the collaborative type. I hate having to work in a group.
I think what he's trying to get at is that because the INTJ isn't as big of a dick as the ESTP, that they will compromise reluctantly. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe they will reluctantly compromise. Whereas, because that was what I would think. Because those are the bits before where it said that the INTJ can't deal with that much stress and pressure. Maybe if there's like a big personality around, like say an ESTP or an ESTJ, then they will compromise, but not willingly, not ideally. It's like because they feel they have to because of this pressure that's put on them. It's not like out of the kindness of their heart that they're compromising. That's how I would say it. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, the only time this has ever happened to me was in my endocrinology class when we did not have a choice. We had to do the whole class, not just a project. The whole class was to be done in a group, and I had to. It was either do it or drop. Hailey. By emotionally impacting people. maybe this is because I can get very intense when I'm talking about something, specifically like fitness, but I feel that I have been able to emotionally impact people, like when I get very like talking about something with a lot of passion. I don't know how they're really taking it. I don't know, so I could be totally wrong.
Well, I think this is in the section. Is this under the section as? I think that may be under the section as INTJ as a supervisor. Yes, as a supervisor.
Okay, okay.
So it's not like the ability to inspire them the way like really like give them positive emotions, where it's like that kind of thing, the way like an ESFJ can, and like an ENFJ would pretend to be. Because ENFJs use FE. There's two kinds of ENFJs. There's the genuine ENFJs and those that are just using FE to further their own dreams. And it's hard to know which ENFJ they are, because they can actually be both. Sometimes they can be. Sometimes you do not know with ENFJs. Because with ESFJs, usually there's not an agenda, because they don't have some big agenda. Unless it's some kind of like social status type thing with ESFJs. But with ENFJs, you always have to wonder, how much is it the cause and how much is it their own themselves? Yeah. How much is it about them?
Okay, well, if you don't have any more comments on this last section, we can move to working conditions.
Right. Okay, so this bit, so do you think you would be able to get people going with enthusiasm?
No, I don't.
Right, I saw the look on your face then.
The whole like if I have to manage a team, like early morning pep talk of, okay guys, let's get going. You can do it today. Get out there and do your best. Like,
right. That, you know, that right there, you know what we're talking about right here now, folks? This is what Hillary Clinton cannot do. That particular activity that Hailey was describing, that's what Hillary Clinton was like on a stump. That trying to manage people, emotionally impacted people with all of the expressions on her face.
Yeah, not something I'm good at, not something I want to do. Not something I want to be in a group listening like to someone else. Like, it depends if I'm interested like in something, and I really don't want to be the speech giver in that instance.
So we've got here, management is often consistent with accepted ethical and professional standards. Now, for you though, I would say it's your own personal ethical and professional standards, not so much. But you see, this is very much in the situation of Hailey as a supervisor working in an organization. How much are you going to go rogue, and how much are you going to stick with the program? Well, Ben, it depends.
Yes, that's exactly right.
I am not sticking with Nazum. So like, people should see her video. Manager at TrueFit called me irritating, something like that. That's a good video for on this subject. Law abiding. Usually law abiding. So Hailey, how have you broken the law? That was a joke question. I don't expect.
Okay.
You can tell me when we're off air. Right. Management-oriented human nature, working conditions. Right.
Yes, optimal regimen for him is independent work. Yes, which provides the opportunity to exercise the mind. Oh man. And I realize the importance of other types who yearn for this kind of work. But if I don't do something I understand if it's something, a job I have to take for the time being, but if it's like for a career, if it is not something that stimulates my mind and lets me use my mind and be valued to others, I can't live in a job where I'm just moving my body to do something for someone, like packing boxes or scanning items on a register. Like, at the end of the day, it's just me moving my body to accomplish a task for someone that does not involve using my mind, and I just insane.
Yeah. And also, do you think you wouldn't be able to concentrate on what you're doing?
Well, it would kind of be like driving.
Right.
Yeah, which can be a problem. He is better than anyone in evaluating existing trends. Okay, can you please go to the next page?
Hey, whoa, 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 whoa! There's a bit there in pink that I find very interesting. So this bit, what about that? Do you think sometimes? What about that? Do you think that's ever been true of you, or like other INTJs you've known, where just outlining the problem? Because usually, I think this is because the logic is usually negative in terms of like finding holes in problems, rather than being constructive. Do you think that's true, that it's usually...
Yes. Well, I mean, specifically here, without offering anything in return, he's usually only outlining the problem without offering anything in return. As of lately, getting older, the reason I don't offer anything in return is because if I'm trying to tell someone like something they're doing wrong, they don't want to hear it. So if I tell them initially and they don't inquire as to, oh, well, what is it, or how can I improve this thing, well, then I don't offer anything else. So maybe that's just Hailey being like, yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, but I just think generally, though, if someone is a critic, it's in order to offer something in return, it's like you have to then construct something. And if you're a negativist critic, then you like, because you're already negative already towards things that you're already trying to create for yourself. Whereas someone who's more positivist would say, hey, well, what about this and this and this and this and this? Have you tried this? And whereas the critic that's normally thinking, oh, that won't work, that won't work, that won't work, they're not as likely to come up with something, you know, because then the mindset isn't try this, try this, try this, try this, this could work.
Right.
It's
yeah.
that won't work, that won't work. So again, it's like other people say to them, oh, okay, have you got any ideas? What will work? And it's like, so it's like, if we take the extreme example, where if you think of the movie critic or the person who criticizes plays and novels, and it's like, well, what do you offer? They just criticize and not constructing anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the constructive criticism that they can? Because like I said, so I would say a lot of the time INTJs use TI negatively to find holes in people's logic. Now that can be valuable because like because you're disabusing someone, you're relieving someone of a false notion. But when you're trying to then, it's because they're not sort of want to like come up with their own theories and like give them over to people. They're not really big. Eventually they might get to that point, but like you're loath as well to like put a theory out there. You know, you have to have thought about it a long time and like fully test it out before you could then say, now I offer this theory after thinking about it for 10 years or something.
Yes.
Rather than INTP, they
Yeah.
will just go, well, maybe this and this, and then just like come up with it on the fly. Maybe, oh, maybe it doesn't work. Okay, what about this one then? Oh, well.
Well, no, I mean, because if you're offering something, you have to take into account everyone who's going to pick it apart for you and say, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? So you're going to take years and think about all those things before you put it out. So when people come back at you, you say, well, I've already thought about this, and here's this answer, and I thought about that too. Here's this answer.
Yeah, but INTP might be thinking, yeah, but I thought about something else now. Or they might say, oh, it was only a suggestion. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you're offering a theory and someone says, well, it could be wrong because of this.
Yeah, but usually
and that
what it was
could invalidate.
Yeah, but usually what I've been a bit naughty there. I think that's more what ENTPs do. They will like speculate. Where the INTP will think about it more and then release it. And usually it will be something that's hard to find the errors with because they've worked on all the logic. And it would have to be like INTJ. They'll have to like. But it's the ENTP. The ENTP will just come up with stuff even that they know is crap. Just to like get rid. Just to like also like to test people, like to see how they would generally come up with. I read something about Victor that he removed analogies and metaphors, analogies that I.L.I, the founder of Socionics, used. Because she's ENTP, she used a lot of these analogies, and he removed them as not very helpful. So you know, so I.L.I would make some analogies to physics, like objects and fields, and people took it literally. That like, for instance, so she used the analogy that extroverted intuition was about extroverted intuition, external statics of objects, and introverted intuition was supposed to be internal dynamics of fields. It's just a metaphor. And it works for like half of them, but not like other people like took it literally. I asked Victor about this, and he said yes, it was a metaphor, and he like tried to remove these metaphors that she used. But ENTPs love using a metaphor because they like doing the transcontextual thinking. And right, so did we do that in evaluating trends of our implementation? Did we do the last sentence of this page?
No.
Right.
But can you continue on because the sentence continues?
All right. Did we do the one before about implementation and too complicated and stuff?
Well, didn't we discuss this a little bit? This was already stated.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll go on a bit. He is better than anyone in evaluating existing trends by implementation of fundamental reforms to avoid impending dangers. You all have to, on the final page, do it by yourself. Do not count on his involvement here. Here's an interesting point. As with all intuitive types, Critic prefers that all problems of domestic and workplace setup, supply and maintenance are resolved by somebody else instead of him. And that's the idea in Kersey that NFs and NTs are not great at logistics, which is what the SJs are best at. Or don't enjoy, or prefer not to do it. But you've also said, I mean, what is your view towards that? Because you've mentioned that about cleaning and stuff. It's just that it causes so much distress for it to be untidy or messy around you.
Yeah.
That you got to do it, even though you don't want to do it.
Yeah, basically.
Whereas ISFJ might be like, oh, good cleaning. which is very much like the robot Crichton, where when he talks about the geniuses in science, he said the great minds like Hoover, Dyson, Dustbuster. And he just like named his inventors of like cleaning implements. I thought it was fantastic. He said I think he said Einstein, Hoover, Dyson, Dustbuster. Because it's a cleaning robot. Right. That was in Red Dwarf 11. It'll be a while before you get on that one, Hailey. Probably in about 2 years. Right. So if you take care of him in these matters, this will free him up to do more creative work.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of like eating and sleeping. Man, if I didn't have to do those things, I would have so much time. I mean, ridiculous to say, but.
All right. Here's probably one of the best bits of the profile. One of the better bits.
Yes. And I've noticed this in my dad and the other INTJs that I've known. The ability to foresee and anticipate the future course of events.
Were they talking about buying gold?
One of them, yes. Yes, you are inquisitive, able to retain and store information on questions and topics that are of interest to you. Erudition, like the ability to repeat.
Erudition is learnedness. So if someone is erudite, if they're very learned. And so erudition is someone's learning.
Okay.
Knowledge, I suppose. Yes, their knowledge, their erudition.
You have the ability to create for yourself an environment in which there is everything necessary for the rational organization of work and rest. Valley convenience, yes.
Such as?
As, like, for example, if I have something to do, I want everything I need for the next day. Like, in order, like, if I have a project that's going to take a long time, I want to make sure that I have, like, tomorrow I get up, I have breakfast already made, like, close to me, I can eat that, get everything done. Like, just things that are convenient, that make getting done what I want to do.
So it's not, so that part is true where you're not, do you feel that energy that, and I know with time, with the Enneagram Type 5, time is very, very valuable. Do you think that, do you also see your energy as very, very valuable and you want to spend it as judiciously as possible? Do you see your energy as a finite amount?
I do, mostly because I know that more energy expenditure, don't laugh at me, more energy expenditure means I have to eat more food, which means I have to spend more money on more food.
You're so INTJ.
Well, actually, that's why I was a few months ago debating on whether or not I should pick up some new, start developing more of my upper body, like back, and then I decided against it for aesthetic reasons, and also because added muscle means I'm going to have to eat more. People are like, oh, well, why don't you just do cardio? It could be healthy. Like, I'm not saying it's not healthy, but I'm saying from their subjective opinion, not knowing, just prompting me to spend more energy. And I'm like, yeah, the more energy I spend is the more I'm going to have to eat. I mean, basically it is. And I have to eat a lot as it is because I've always had a lean problem. So, I mean, stack more food on top of that. That's more energy I'm expending to do what? To, oh, because it's fun. Because it's fun. So I'm like,
Right.
Yes. Skepticism of new ideas. Yeah, I'm lack of energy and enthusiasm for their realization. I suppose having a pessimistic perception of life.
I can imagine how for certain types, like for starting a business, the regulatory environment can be so onerous, it can be so difficult that it's only going to be like certain types. But it might be a lot of INTJ, it's like it makes it to a certain point where it's like only going to be types with an enormous amount of energy.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, it's going to have, like,
The policy of an ostrich burying its head in the sand will lead you to lose interest in life and negatively impact your professional activities. Try to refrain from making inappropriate comments.
Excessive grouchiness.
Okay, can you ask girl?
Yeah, I think of those videos that you start with and they go, start with a big sigh.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably go, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, that's an interesting contradiction, isn't it? You shy away from scandals, yet you give free rein to your negative emotions.
Well, it's almost like they can't control it. It's not like, oh, I choose. It's like they can't.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
It's like not much of a choice. Is they're not able to control it very well.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. You know, okay, and I'm not trying to.
I would reword that. It's like, I don't think that the INTJ actively gives free rein to their negative emotions.
Right.
Like,
it's just
they can't control their negative emotions. They are not in control of their negative emotions.
Yeah.
I would put something like, you shy away from scandals, yet are not able to prevent the release of your negative emotions, something like that.
Right, yeah.
There's
oh, sorry.
There was a Star Trek fan film. It was about it was called Checkers, and there was a Star Trek fan in there called Gabriel Kerner. And somebody rings up during the interview, and he's like, "No, go away! I'm busy." It's like on camera. And he like when they did like Checkers 2, it showed how it changed. But like it was this famous like INTJ fanboy. That was funny. That to his face, no, go away! And it was like, and he got mocked for that. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, this is funny. Because of excessive suspiciousness, you can refuse to visit doctors or listen to their advice. It's funny. Okay. And I believe that little retrieved is the last bit. So if there's anything in these last few paragraphs that you want to talk about.
Okay, I'll have a look. Do you think you might be excessively fastidious?
And what is fastidious? Oh yeah, attentive to detail. Yes, I do. My cleanliness. Like I said about the hand washing thing earlier, I probably should wash my hands more. But yeah, attention to detail, attentiveness to detail. Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah, it's what I didn't quite write this out properly. It's like there's two different meanings of fastidious. One is attentive to detail, and that the second meaning is very concerned about cleanliness. It's sort of like used. That's sort of like the secondary meaning. Usually, I would say fastidious, it means attentive to detail, and then the secondary meaning is about cleanliness. So. Yes, they can come across as pedantic. We're both pedantic people. What about the wasteful expenditures of time and energy can lead to general fatigue?
Yeah, I'd say it's a general rule, yeah, but it depends on the situation.
Right, because you have thought about, like, I don't know, sometimes you've thought maybe, oh, what's the point of it all, putting all this effort in? And so I'm just...
Well, for cases like that, I probably would have thought about, I'm not going to jump into anything if I don't have a plan or reason, like purpose for doing it. I'm not just going to start do something halfway into it, be like, well, what's the point of this? I already know the point of whatever I'm doing.
Right. Right, I think that's about it. What I'll say...
Is that all? Have we gone through the whole thing already? Gosh.
Yes, maybe I can say... so the difference between ENTJ and INTJ is the... So how do you think you are at the ability to relax?
I'm decent. Yeah, but also it depends on... I mean, if you think relaxing is sitting on your ass, but I'm sitting on my ass, reading stuff on hypertrophy, to me, I'm studying and, not necessarily in a relaxed state of mind, but to someone else, doesn't matter. I'm still sitting on my ass.
No, I mean, like, at the end of the day, you still relax. You do like to wind down.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas ENTJ might not as much.
So they're always just like, go, 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 go.
Yeah, the theory is that they're, and I asked Damon this, that they have a hard time relaxing because they feel they always must be active. They almost must be doing something tonight, and they have to like drain themselves out, and then maybe at the end of the day they're physically exhausted. And of course, non-typological factors will affect this, like how much stress they're feeling, like from how well they are doing, like how much they're struggling, and they might try harder and harder. They might reach a level of success where, okay, I can relax a bit now. Especially if they're happy with their like self-image, where they're not trying as like hard. So their sort of maturity will come into it, like as how much stress they're feeling. But they are likely to have stress. ENTJs. They're not and that's the difference with like ESTJ. Yeah, the difference between ESTJ and ENTJ. ESTJ can relax. ESTJ is a very clear dividing line between work and after work. It's like, now Jeff might say that what they do as hobbies is boring, but they're not the workaholics the way that ENTJs are. It's like, when they're at work, they work well hard, and then when they go home, they relax. They'll do their activities. And they'll usually do something boring, like in the garden or something. Whatever Jeff thinks these SJ activities are boring, but they still relax of a kind. And that's about it.
Okay. So, yeah, is that everything? Said everything?
Yeah. So what do you think of that profile overall compared to the other ones?
I thought it was great. Other than a few little bits in it, I related to just about all of it. So, yeah, I thought it was wonderful.
So if anyone's watched this far, hopefully you're not one of those few people who, Hailey's best fit type, NiTe. It's pretty clear. Pay attention.
Do you want me to give my comment on that?
Yes.
I mean, there's always going to be, what have I been called? ISFP, ENTJ.
Oh, I'd take that as a compliment. Being called ENTJ.
ENTJ.
Being called ENTJ, that's a compliment.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. But I mean, I don't know.
I imagine if an ENTJ was called an INTJ, then they might go, hang on a minute. I'm more done. They might take that as a negative, but because the ENTJs want to be ENTJs. Right, okay, that's about it. I don't think there's anything else. We've gone quite a long time. We may have gone over 2 hours. I'm not sure.
I think we have. Okay, yeah, it's time to end. And thanks for everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. It's bye from me.
And bye from me.
Just a Ben.
2 Bens. Ben over there and Ben over here.
All right, bye everyone. Thanks for tuning in.